let's take an actual case. Let's say someone comes into you saying he or she is disabled as a result of being in the military service. What are you looking for at the initial consultation?
The first thing would be veteran status, so to make sure that they have an honorable discharge. The other thing would be that they have a current disability. So
is there any time connection? I mean, must it be filed within so many years? For example, in Social Security, I think you have to be within 10 years of your last employment to be able to be eligible.
Mm-hmm. No, with VA, there's no time limit. There's only one type of claim in VA that does have a time limit, and that's accrued benefits, where if a veteran has a claim in for benefits, dies, and then his dependent, whether it be children or surviving spouse, wants to take over that claim, they need to alert VA within 1 year of the veteran's death. Other than that, there's no time limit with VA claims at all. And so we have veterans who are putting in their first claim from World War II.
Wow. So they come to you, you talk to them, and what are some of the key questions that you'll be asking?
To find out what their disability is, what their symptoms are. Like I said, some of our veterans, they were not aware that they could even put in a claim. Some of our veterans felt that because they weren't in combat, they don't deserve monthly compensation payments, so they never put in a claim, even though they hurt their knee maybe on the obstacle course or something like that. They felt they weren't worthy of it because they weren't combat wounded. So a lot of our veterans do come to us for the very first time, many years out of service, to put in an initial claim for service connection. Some of our other veterans maybe were rated by VA as soon as they got out because they were catastrophically wounded. They received a Purple Heart, something like that, that would then tip them off to make the claim to VA. Maybe they've been rated at a certain level for many years because they didn't realize that they're rated based on how disabled they are. We'll then talk with them, find out what their symptoms are, find out where they're treating at, and then put in a claim for them against VA for an increased rating to make sure that they are appropriately rated and that VA is taking into account all of their symptoms that they're having.
Is there any case that you have where they're being denied? I mean, what would be the basis for a denial of a claim?
What used to be a very big basis for denial is our post-traumatic stress disorder claims. They would put them in, and you needed to prove to VA that there was a stressor incident, meaning that there was some sort of stressful incident that put you in fear for your life that then caused you to develop PTSD. That was very hard for a lot of our Vietnam veterans to prove because you look on their DD-214, which is their discharge document, and it doesn't say that they're a combat infantryman. It instead says that their military occupation specialty is a clerk or a cook. Well, when they're on a far outpost in the middle of the jungles of Vietnam, it didn't really matter if you were a clerk or a cook. You would be handed a gun, and if people were trying to overtake your base, you would then need to defend it. And that was very hard for a lot of the veterans to prove because in wartime, record keeping really isn't that great. There's not somebody there who's always jotting down notes about what happened. And so a lot of our veterans were denied their PTSD claims because they weren't able to prove stressor incidents. VA has slightly loosened the regulations now a few years back, so it's a little bit easier for the veterans to prove it, where they don't need to prove specific stressor incident where they needed to submit perhaps a document that shows that their base was mortared or that this particular individual was killed. Whereas now, if the course of their service and the stressor incident that they're alleging correlates with the course of their service, so if they're saying that they're in a far-off outpost and they were then attacked and overran, if their service would make sense that something like that would happen in layman's terms, then VA is a little bit more forgiving and would allow them to be granted service connection. So we do a lot of arguing with that. A lot of veterans who were previously denied that kind of lost hope. They didn't really want to put in another claim, but we're encouraging them to do so now because, you know, the regulations have loosened a little bit.